Building authentic relationships. Why, when, and how? Right here, right now on Air Brands Live.
You are now tuned in to the On Air Brands podcast.
Here. Are we there?
Hello, we're here. We're
Are we
there.
here? Are we everywhere?
We're everywhere.
Thank
Hello.
goodness we're live.
Hello, hello.
Yes.
Good morning.
Yes, we're back. The usual, although we're missing some pieces, but we're back and we're happy to be here. How are you, Lisa Holbert?
All right. I was waiting for that. How are you guys? You're
Good.
coming down off of an amazing event on Friday.
Oh, thank you for that. Yes, yes, yes. And that is a shining example of building authentic relationships. But Josh, how are you? We're going to get to all that good
Oh, I'm
stuff.
great. Thanks for asking. Absolutely wonderful.
Yeah. So we did come off of an event, which seems like it was yesterday, but then at the same time, it feels like it was a year ago.
That is absolutely true. When Lisa said that we just came off, I was like, oh yeah, but it does feel like ages ago.
Yeah. It was so much fun because we see as we continue to build and as we continue the momentum of PodMax, the same people keep coming back over and over and over. And what's happening as a result of that is relationships are building, trust is building, a family is growing. And it's really, really cool because someone who's here with us today, who's actually sitting in the virtual green room, is a part of that family. And we want to celebrate today with her for a specific reason that we'll get to in a second. But yeah,
we don't want to ruin
We
this
don't wanna ruin it,
surprise. What she's right.
But yeah, I mean, we can get into sort of the details of what happened on Friday to keep everybody updated. But I just wanted to talk about the theme of today's show, and we're going to take it wherever it goes. But the gratitude, the abundance. I'm always like all over the place with abundance and gratitude. But yeah, authentic relationships stems from, I believe, and I did a presentation about this to my mastermind, is it really genuinely starts with gratitude. And when I started to practice each and every day, being grateful for life and being grateful for the air I breathe, being grateful for the home I live in, my family, just every day, constantly reassuring and also reminding myself of what I'm grateful for. That was the gateway and the opening to an abundance mindset, and always constantly fuses and complements the abundance mindset, which basically means, in a nutshell, you don't have a scarcity mindset. You're not worried about things running out. You're not running to the supermarket and getting toilet paper. You're always confident and aware that there's abundance and there's enough for everyone. There's no competition here. So that is really sort of the beginning, sort of folds into authentic relationships, and then just coming to people with that foundation and that healthy mindset really starts to create curiosity in people. Because you've got your stuff together, and then now you can come to someone and say, how can I offer value in your life? You become a good listener as a result, and you start to dig deeper and ask deep questions, and people genuinely gravitate towards and love people who like to listen and like to understand what they're about and what their passions are and what they're warriors of. And then you start to be able to really form strong, deep, authentic relationships. So how do you guys feel about everything I just...
The other side of that is it's sort of a simple approach, but it often gets missed. And what you're saying, Eric, is as simple as this. If you find yourself in an angry, upset, frustrated, aggravated state, the opposite of that, like you pointed out, is to find the abundance, find the gratitude, find the appreciation. And the way you do it is to simply acknowledge and realize that you're not waiting for your external circumstances to change first, and only then will you feel the gratitude. Well, what am I going to feel gratitude for and appreciate? When this changes or when I get that, then I will feel that way. That is completely backwards and really preventing and inhibiting you from feeling that way and achieving everything that you dare want. The way it does work is when you first initiate those feelings of gratitude through any minuscule opening you can. You know what? I'm grateful for this coffee I have. Like anything as simple as right where you are now, and then just start there. That's when the external starts to reflect and mirror that back to you. So it's not, well, I'm going to wait until my life changes and I get this and that changes and that adjusts. No, you have to show up first as that appreciative and grateful person in order to see the reflection in everything in your life. And my goodness, I'm living and breathing proof that the more you do it, the better life gets and can get. And just proof is in the pudding. That's the way it works.
So, I mean, we're gonna continue this momentum and sort of this theme, and then, like I said, take it where it goes. Lisa, if you have anything to add, but I wanted to also say, everyone who's watching and listening, please, add your thoughts, add your comments to the chat here. This is an interactive show, and we're more than happy to throw your comments on the screen, answer any questions, or share any stories. So yeah, please like, subscribe, and share as always. But yeah, if you have anything to add, if not, then we're going to introduce our wonderful partner, friend, colleague, family into the fold, because it is a big day for her.
Yes. So I think she probably has gratitude today because of the big day it is for her.
She's shaking her head.
And I think so I think we should have her come in and share in the conversation and wish her
happy birthday.
It's you. Kristen Olsen, professional colleague, podcast host, loyal Pod Max show host for us. You've been there, hasn't really been every single time since May.
I think I missed one, and I subbed for you one, but I think there was one that I missed. But otherwise, we've been there, and we're happy to be there. That's one major thing we have gratitude for. Absolutely.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah. So tell us about your show. It's we see the banner because you're a branding queen, no doubt. First of all, like we said, happy birthday. Do you want to tell us what birthday you're celebrating?
Yes, thank you very much. I'm excited to be here. We're 2 hours away, so it's early here in Colorado. It is my 40th birthday.
Wow.
It's kind of crazy. I'm not big on like milestone birthdays because I genuinely love all birthdays and I celebrate them because I like any excuse just to celebrate
life.
So yeah, so we're excited about it, but it's kind of crazy when you say something out loud and you think, damn, what have I been doing for 40 years? Like, okay.
Well, let me ask you this, as long as, because I know you well, you know us well, so I know you don't shy away from honest assessment, self-assessment, and growth. Yes. So today you are 40. That is a milestone birthday for anyone. How do you feel, quote unquote, about that? And, 5, 10, 20 years ago, was there something about a 40-year-old threshold that now you've arrived at that you felt a specific way about?
Well, man, that is a loaded question. How much time we got here?
We're in.
Bottle real quick. Yeah. So it's early in the morning. I will try and take some time today to like deeply reflect. But as your birthday is coming, particularly a milestone birthday, you start to think about things and being like, oh, what did I think when I was younger? Like, where do you see for yourself in 20 years? Is this what it is? I honestly, in high school, I was never the kid that's like, I'm going to be doing this and I'm going to be a millionaire and kids and this. I was just, all I thought about was freedom and just being able to do whatever I want. I hated that, I needed permission to do stuff and an ID to get into a club and like just these boundaries. And as I've gotten older and really learned about myself, honesty and transparency is my number one core value and independence is number 2. So being and having that freedom is really deeply important to me. So at 40, when I think about even the past like couple years, I've really like professionally, like we've had to just jump through some hoops and learn a lot. And I even like, into this year, as crazy as 2020 is, I feel the most free to tackle the next opportunity that I ever have before. And I think my young self would see my 40-year-old self and be like, oh, perfect. That's exactly what you need and what you want for you. And it's so funny, the years leading up to it were kind of like these, hit the wall, get back up, hit the wall. And it's like stuff my young self probably knew, but my older self, as you get into like jobs or situations or relationships or whatever, and you kind of veer off from your authentic self. Now at this time, I think I'm right back in alignment. And truthfully, this isn't a testament to that, because I do think, we are like-minded, as different as we may all be. We're on this mission to share the gospel of podcasting and gratitude and the good word. So I think I'm in alignment. But did that answer your question?
Yeah.
That's an amazing answer. I mean, 40 is a big number, but it's really all perspective, right? It's all how, and like, if you look at it with gratitude, there's so much more to do. Look how much you've done in just 40 years. Imagine what the next 40 will be.
Well, that's just it. I have this kind of like, I don't want to say anxiety, but like general consciousness of like, are we doing enough? What's going on? Yeah. And as you get older, you're like, no, slow down. Everything's on time. And the other side of me is like, F that. Let's get to work. What's going on? True. So that's the turmeric and tequila. Like, no, we're zenned out. We're chilling. And I'm like, that. What? Get up. Pour some tequila. Let's lock and load. So yeah,
I love the discrepancy. The two sides of everything in life, really.
Yeah. There is always a healthy balance, right? And that's acceptable. And once you're aware of it, and you oh, this is part of the process. There's a side of me that's really scared and unsure, and there's a side of me that's like, no, I know all the answers, and I can help everybody. But you're right. And you guys, just going back to what happened to us all on Friday, when Hal Elrod shared a ton, and, just so enlightening and inspiring, and his message and everything he brings to the table. But one thing that I don't know if I mentioned this during the conversation, but he said something in there that changed the way I approach things in my family. And maybe, the same for you guys, hopefully. He's starting to talk in terms of when I'm 100 years old, and how old his kids are going to be. He's like, oh, so I think I did the math, and like my daughter's going to be 67 or something. And it's like all this stuff. And I started doing the math, and I'm like, that's kind of cool to think of it. Now I'm telling them this. Now I'm like, hey, when I'm 100 and, we're celebrating my 100th birthday, you'll be this age, and your sister will be this age. It's kind of like manifesting it, but sure. It's kind of cool to kind of think in those terms. And it's just to your point, Kristen, that, like, man, we're still young. We got a lot of life. We got a lot of fight in us to keep going and going and going, especially if we're drinking a lot of turmeric and tequila.
And just to kind of play the other side of that, it's, unfortunately I've lost some friends that were really, really young. And that always, anytime you lose something massive or something, significant happens in your life, I think you're forced to gain some perspective and reflect, or at least I hope so, and find, some positive. And so it's always kind of been in the back of mind with those young losses, young humans, that, sometimes it's not quality or quantity, it's quality. So if they only had, 27, 28 years or 24, you think about that impact. Like when I had a conversation with Bertiti and she lost her son, and we talked about the impact he had in her life for, just his 17 years. I do think it's so important to have that mindset and that manifestation of like, here's me at 100, and the present mind of what if I don't get to 100? Like, what am I doing right now that really matters if I only get to 42 or 45 or 60, or maybe I'm 123. I don't know. 23 is my lucky number, Jordan. So that's what we're going to go for. But, it's kind of again, I think that balance of keeping the mindset of like, yes, 100, but also don't waste your time, because you might not have 100. And so like, again, let's keep good humans in our world and our purpose in the forefront of our space, because we don't really know when the clock's going to ding for all of us.
This is why I carry this in my pocket. It's a gold coin that says Memento Mori, which is from the Stoic brand.
Yes.
And it literally translates to mean, remember, you will die. And some might think that that's morbid and dark. I find it light and energizing, because it's exactly what you just spelled out. And every time I feel this and see this and touch this in my pocket, it reminds me that life is fleeting for all of us. Even best case scenario at 100, or living to 123 in your case, Kristen, there's no guarantees. And because I have found my wake up some years ago through the eyes of my children, I'm now uberly aware that, my goodness, there's no guarantee. Anything could happen to any one of us at the drop of a hat. And now is the only time we have to do anything. So remember this, that no matter how it's sliced, you will die. So put that into perspective for yourself. Figure out what's important right now. There's no reason to not act on what we know our darn full potential is, that I've always known but resisted, which was the very cause of angst, anger, confusion, and frustration, because I was resisting that potential and sitting on the sidelines. So what, you think you're going to feel good about that? Of course you're not, because that's not why we're here. So only these days, when I'm able to step in and produce and come out swinging at every single moment, that's when life really feels good.
Yeah. What made you get that coin? I'm curious.
I fell into, through all of my personal development and self-growth and awareness work and reading, I came across Ryan Holiday, who's a big proponent of the Stoic way of life, which is basically saying its big mantra is basically the idea that everything happens for you, not to you. Look for the best in all situations. Even the on paper tragic can have some sense of good in it, and it's our responsibility to take the responsibility and make the best of every single situation for our best life. And reading his work, and I continue to indulge in the Stoic philosophy these days. And like I said, Ryan Holiday created this coin
Can I see
through that philosophy. And
I don't remember back in the Podmax that Matt, something that had struck me, the Podmax that Matt Higgins was our keynote. He specifically mentioned this whole concept. And I remember you took out the coin, Josh.
That's right. That's right.
And that was powerful because you do hear it some places, but to see it kind of in that physical representation, I like that, because it really becomes real.
It's a reminder.
Yeah.
And for anybody watching, it's about a $30 coin. To me, completely worth the thing to be able to hold on to all of my days. You get it at the Stoic store or Daily Stoic.
I just got to put it into universe. This better be a sponsor of yours. They better be there's strategic partnerships here. You know, it's not about the business necessarily, but you can go where it's natural.
Yeah, well, Ryan Holiday is huge.
Yeah.
You know, I know Eric's. You've read his other work.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's good. I say the audiobook is actually better.
Which book? Spell it out.
Oh shoot! What the heck is somebody please help me here. I'm drawing a blank. His book. The way. What's it called?
Yeah, the something is the way. We're both blanking.
Yeah. Young Jake, help us.
The
Anyway,
obstacle is the way.
The obstacle is the way. Thank you. So
Jake.
at the end of the audiobook,
The obstacle is the way.
and you can't do this in the written form. I guess you could, but there's a surprise at the end. Spoiler alert. He has a 2.5 hour, maybe close to 3 hour conversation with Tim Ferriss. And to me, at the time of my life, was more, I got more out of that conversation. And I've listened to it multiple times. So yeah, if you're into the Stoic sort of concept or want to know more about it, definitely the Ryan Holiday book, The Obstacle is the Way, and skip to the interview and then you can listen to the rest of the book. But I wanted to, since we're so deep here in this philosophy stuff, and also, I wanted to remind everyone, please, add some ideas. We want to hear your thoughts, and, you can affect the conversation and the flow of this whole discussion. So, but knowing a bit about Kristen here, and I love your philosophy behind, and this is so deep, and that's why I want to bring it up, that you say reality is nothing more than an applied meaning.
Yeah.
Can you explain that?
Well, anyone, I love that we just dove into philosophy, and this is kind of the unintentional poke with turmeric and tequila. Like it sounds simple, and I have what I call HBT's heavy basic tendencies, Botox and bleach and all the things. However, it stems from.
We got to get into your world here. Know the acronyms.
Jump in.
Botox bleach.
It stems from really, philosophy, like really old school philosophy. If anyone's, unpacked Aristotle, any of them, you kind of get to this baselining of, and some of them you need to like really dig in and read a lot around, but everything's made up. It is what you make it. And reality is nothing more than applied meaning. And it's very ironic. I think universe does have a sick sense of humor. And I always say universe, God, Madonna, whatever you believe. In how you're creating what you do. So it's funny that I kind of stumbled into branding. I talked about my core values earlier, which was a whole other thing I unpacked. I always suggest people dig into themselves and what they really want to do and all that as they get older, because that reveals so much and so much more understanding for yourself. But it was honesty and transparency, number 1, number 2, independence, number 3, creativity. So it's funny that I got into branding and like creating and, kind of sharing my world and helping other people share theirs and strategic partnerships and whatnot. And then this point of philosophy really resonated. Reality is nothing more than applied meaning. So as a branding professional, we're creating these things. And I saw the power of marketing. And I've talked about this before, but our young humans consuming digital media in particular at an all-time high, and that's creating their reality. So this is a cup because society's told me this is a cup. This is champagne because they told me, this could be squirrel or whatever we call it. And that becomes what it is. So we are quite literally creating our realities, and we're perceiving the world according to, social and cultural norms. So if we can recognize that power and we can have this aware conversation around it, well, how much power do we have to really shift what's going on? If we can get in front of our young humans and say, yes, and marketing, they're telling this Coca-Cola, it's good. And it's like, okay, but that's also packed with sugar and this represents this lifestyle to you. But in reality, that's a $10,000 dental bill, a heart disease situation and whatever. We can really start to shift what is real. So then you go back to philosophy of the 1800s, and they're telling us what we need to know now in 2020. So I think it's this really awakening and awareness of timeout. We just like you said, we can step out of victim mentality of world's happening to me. We can start creating what we want and help create this positive world for what's around us and for the people, our young humans that are coming up. We're getting all the cliches this morning. The champagne's not even open yet. So, stand by. But that's kind of where the base of it was. So really it's to shift and start, to really tell the truth. Again, particularly to our young people, saying like, listen, I'm in the marketing world. I see the messages coming at you. It's not all bad. We're here to highlight the good. And let's have some personal awareness and personal responsibility to be like, that's actually not good. What's really going on?
I love that.
Wow.
So powerful. I mean, it's super deep. But you reminded me of a conversation I had. I was on someone's show yesterday, and at the end of it, I don't know if it was on the show or it was off the mic, but he was like, do you feel like you're adding to the distortion, like the social media distortion, like the confusion because you're the media? And no one ever asked that of me. And I was like, yeah, there's a lot of noise out there. There's a lot of people putting stuff out there and everybody wants to be heard. But couldn't we put the good stuff out? Couldn't we, even though there's a lot of noise, there's a lot of bad. So we have to sort of counter it with you, Kristen, and, being a voice and a champion of our brand and your brands and, vice versa. We do the same for you. And then it's like, we create this reverberation, right? We sort of we disrupt all the bad and we disrupt what's being put out there. Hopefully we break through. There you go.
Yeah.
So yeah, super deep, right? Early in the morning, but we're talking some philosophical, mind-bending stuff. It's great.
I want to lean on that just a little bit because it's kind of crazy again with the influencer world. And it's weird to you see influencers, we printed shirts that said influencers just to poke the bear because that's funny and everyone's an influencer. But on the flip side, everybody's an influencer. So you really have to take pride in your voice because you don't know who's listening. However, and I think most of you guys can relate to this. Once you do step in front of the mic, you do have a little bit of that imposter syndrome of like, oh, social media, like, do I really know? What am I talking about? What's going on? Like I see, a million followers, this and that. And, do we need to put on a swimsuit and gain followers, which we're never doing that, but, just to play devil's advocate. We're not going
You're turning 40. You don't know,
well, that's true. You do never know. But yeah, okay. We're open to whatever, again, God, Universe, Madonna has in store. But you've got to have that confidence and self-belief to step in front of the mic, embrace a little bit of that imposter syndrome because it's happening to everyone. And then know that what your value and your light is valuable. It is disrupting the noise. And I mean, I could say this about every single one of you. Like, thank God you are on the mic and, you know, shining it on the world that's out there, because this is what the world needs.
Well, you know my story. My whole deal was that I knew I had that capability and perhaps that responsibility, as we all say and do. But I was so scared of how people were going to react to that they were going to, you know, shut me down, and I wouldn't have been strong enough to sort of stand up and stick up for my values and my beliefs, that I just said nothing. And I think that that's really at the core of why people wouldn't be sharing their thoughts on a broader scale.
Yeah. And maybe that's also one good thing about getting older, is you just start to give less shits. Like, you're like, okay.
That's so true.
And then you're like, you know, we've already run that lap. So say what you got to say.
You find your voice and you really don't care if the person who's listening, you know, it's your voice.
Totally.
And it's your thoughts.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's a very true statement. So wait another 10 years, Kristen, and wow.
I know we're saving for the Botox budget, because, you know, it goes up every year. So that's real. But I think
real. She buttons it with.
The vulnerability that goes with that, like, as a society, kind of going back to the philosophy, we're not really taught, particularly in America and actually in a lot of societies, to be vulnerable, to be open. And now it's kind of on the flip side, where it's like influencer tier, I had a hard day, and that's the most. But was there any one point for you guys where it's like you had to be super vulnerable, but then it was just like a major win, and like it opened a door of, you know, everything else moving forward?
I mean, Josh talks about it all the time.
I mean, I think my absolute current life, including the past 12 months, certainly the past 3 to 6 months, certainly the past 3 to 6 weeks, certainly the past 3 to 6 days and hours. I mean, literally in real time here, what we're experiencing and what I'm experiencing through my life, through my business, through my personal life, the growth that I'm experiencing is a direct relation and result from who I am on the inside and coming into the public as and displaying. So to answer your question, by really embracing who I am and what I'm capable of, and putting some of that into strategic action, gives me and produces the exact result that literally makes life worth living. So I'm experiencing it in real time right now.
Yeah.
No,
The power of podcasting too, Kristen, to answer your question from my perspective, allowed me and gave me the platform to first. The intention was to create thought leadership platform, credibility, right? Open opportunities for me to meet people and have conversations with people that I otherwise would never have that opportunity to do. So, but then I started to notice it was kind of, for lack of a better word, becoming therapy in a sense that as I was experiencing things real time, like Josh said, I was putting it out there, and oftentimes, you know, my team here could attest to this. I would lose it. I would cry on the show, or I'd get very emotional, and not with any intention of like, yeah, I'm putting this out there, you know, because I was raised from a very machismo dad. He was like, hey, don't cry, men don't cry, get up, you know, scratch that off, you're not hurt, you know, all the stuff that we're sort of against now as we've evolved as the following generation. So putting myself out there, and even with my team, I get so emotional, especially, thank goodness, Lisa, we don't have our team huddles before PodMax like we used to. Remember, we would gather in the main room, and there would be a dozen of us, like, you know, and then I would do a little rallying speech. Actually, the leaders will do the speech, and then I'll at the end I'll say something, and then I'll just start crying.
I love you.
But yeah, I love you guys. But yeah, I think that if you put yourself out there and you show people that vulnerability, it gives them permission, right, to do the same, which, man, and that creates some wonderful conversations, trust right off the bat. And yeah, it's just, why not all day? You know who's a good example of it? James Altucher. When I started to follow him, I was like, man, this guy really puts it out there to the point where it's like, is this hurting his brand? Because he'd put out, I mean, he was like, this guy's kind of, he needs some serious therapy or something, because he was always putting out all of his issues and his thoughts and his insecurities. But no, I think that really exploded his brand. Like people love the vulnerability and the idea that this mega successful guy is a mess. He's flawed, just like me, just like you. It's just so wonderful how many things come about just being open and being vulnerable.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I think to add to that, to add to those two, is that being vulnerable also is sometimes asking for help. And what I mean is, if you are looking for something in your business, if you're looking for someone that might have a different tool, a different connection, and you ask, that's being vulnerable, because they could say no, or they could not answer, they could not respond. And I think if you do ask, that's that's kind of breaking down a wall. Like, I'm worthy enough to ask, and I'm gonna do it. I'm going to ask for assistance, ask for cooperation, ask for a referral or a recommendation, and you don't know how that can tenfold. I think the example of, for me personally, reaching out to James and kind of taking a risk has led to all these other relationships. And then, Kathy Sharp Ross, meeting her, I mean, she's, kind of, they're all in the same circle, but she has all these other elements that I connect with. And, it's been really eye-opening. And that's really just from being vulnerable and saying, well, let me just give it a shot.
Yeah.
And I think that is the really powerful piece too.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that the more, what I always loved about sports is, like, you have to show up and compete. You might lose, you might drop the ball, you might look like a total idiot. Like, something might happen, but you get used to it. So I've always tried to bring that to my adult life. Like, man, this podcast could go really
I love
bad.
that you love sports, Kristen.
Well, I had 3 younger brothers, so there was no option. But I genuinely do. I mean, my first company was a lacrosse company. We really focused on fostering life skills through sports, particularly for my young women, teamwork, getting along, letting go of this catty situation that's going on, mean girl stuff. Like, we're evolving here. But it's such a good practice to get back to your young self and be like, just put it out there. And the more I don't want to say you get good at rejection, but it's kind of like, okay, bye next, like, go to the next thing. And then, just like you said, it's when you get to the other side, when you do get the yes, it's so worth whatever you had to put out there and potentially look foolish or feel insecure or feel that rejection, because the right thing did come through at the right time. But that's hard. I will say, at 40, vulnerability is probably something I've got to work on the most. And the podcast, just like you said, Eric, has been phenomenally healing and exposing for me to be like, guess what, girlfriend, if you're gonna expect this of your guests, you got to meet them there. So here we go.
Well, you said also you like Michael Jordan, right? Number 23.
Yes.
His big quote is, you will miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Yep.
And I think that is such a life lesson. It's something I try and share with my sons. Like, you know what? Give it. If you don't take the shot, you're never going to know.
Yeah.
Could make it.
Yeah. And I think it's good for, again, our young humans to build those coping mechanisms. Like, it's okay. Like, yes, rub some dirt on it, get emotional, do what you got to do, but also, come on, get back out there, learn how to do this. Like, I think we're a little too, and I'm not a parent, so I don't give parenting advice, but I coached for 10 years or however long. And, let them
harder
than
being a parent sometimes.
Yeah. Because then you got to manage the parents, and that's a whole other podcast. But the young humans, the kiddos, I'm here for. But no, it's like I said, it's good practice, and we need those coping mechanisms of, yeah, dude, you failed. Get your helmet, get back out there.
Love that. Yeah, put that back up with Larry. Thanks for always tuning in, Larry. Another member of the Podmax fam.
Yes.
I've seen the more vulnerable you allow yourself to be, the more opportunities you have to grow.
Yeah.
That's
So
what's up.
true. Yeah.
This is very serendipitous. My podcast with Larry, I just posted it today on Turmeric and Tequila. That came out one big win. So here we are, universe, laughing at us. It's out there.
The best. I love when that happens.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think there's just so much, we're constantly learning, and we're constantly, we're blessed because we have platforms, right? We've created these platforms for ourselves and businesses in order to help others. Kristen, in your business, I know you're aligned, and you do a lot of what we do, which is funny because we all have basically the same core values and the same sort of approaches to solutions. There's something that you mentioned you say that opportunity cost is real.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to get a little bit into business so people out there can start to get something out of this outside of, the mindset. We always talk mindset, especially during these times and all this crazy stuff. We really felt like we had to lean into that strength of ours, talking about mindset and really trying to help people as they try to see through the fog. But let's get into some of the business. So you mentioned opportunity cost is real, and so is saying yes to the moment. You want to expand a little bit on that?
Yeah. Again, you got to be careful what you put out there because it will come back to you. Yes, I actually, one of my favorite collegiate moments, again, I was a collegiate athlete, so I was there to play sports and not for the business school, although I told my parents the opposite, because I wanted to travel 2,000 miles to go on a better team and walk on versus take a scholarship. Anyways, one of my econ, it was like econ 102, 201 or something early on. And the professor had us write an essay for a potential extra credit. And he would bump our grade up from like, it was a B- to a B+ or a B- to a B or something. And I remember sitting there being like, yo, we're definitely doing the extra credit opportunity. That's real. And I kind of pulled back and he's like, what have you learned in econ? And I'm sitting there like, yo, all of our business classes were like at 7 a.m. So we were coming like from a practice to that. So I had like shin bags on, ice bags on my shins. And, we're tired from practice. I was probably eating a bagel, falling asleep in my chair. And I'm thinking like, okay, what the F did I learn at 7 a.m. in econ? And it was actually like one of my most reflective moments because I talked about opportunity cost and again, young self coming into play. I was like, it's so real. You can't do everything. You're constantly giving up something to do something else. And that's always stuck in my brain. And I wrote, a quick blurb to him and he's like, this is actually one of the best, responses I've ever read. And again, I was not an econ student. We switched to communication, ironically enough, and it worked out. But he was like, this is one of the best ones I've read. You really understand opportunity costs. And again, here we are. It's so real. Like we only have so much time and energy. If you're giving time and energy to something, it's not going to something else. On the flip side, you have to be super present knowing that you're giving up these costs. So you have to say and know when to say yes to the moment and saying, this is worth it. So this constant balance of thinking of, I'm giving up something to do this, and what a blessing this is. I'm say yes to the moment. This feels right. Let's not overthink it, and let's go with it. So again, it's that balance, but that constant mindset of I'm giving this up, and I'm saying yes to this because I know it's right. I'm in alignment, and we're here.
I just want to take a quick side stop here for a second, Kristen. It seems like you always talk about yourself in the plural. You say we switched majors.
I have multiple personalities, so that's I don't know. It's kind of like when I said humans, people are like, why do you say that? And I think I just do. Like I just say, I think it's just the authentic brand. I don't like varsity. That's how that kind of happened.
That speaks volumes to me. I'll answer for you, and then you could, and then as the answer comes, I'm going to buy you some time here.
What the plural?
The royal we. Number one. So
Yeah.
there's the royal we, but then also whenever Kristen says it, and I do this a lot too, and Josh has pointed it out, that we have teams. And we have
But she was
we have
talking
community.
about.
No, I know.
She was talking
But
about.
I think she's so accustomed to it.
Right.
But what's cool about
the
that
athlete
is
in you.
she always knows she's one of the whole. She's one piece of the whole.
Right. Nothing is done in isolation.
It's deep. No, it's deep. And even if
go.
she's doing subconsciously, it speaks volumes to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we're going to go to the bathroom. I get it. Makes sense.
Well, that's women do that. We all know.
Well,
We all
that's
know
a
women do
woman thing. We have to
Yeah.
support each other.
Wait,
that's squad. Very secret things
Right.
happen.
This is very basic. I don't know, and I apologize if people already know this, but I think I heard this recently that that's inherent in women because of, if you go back to the caveman days, women had to travel in packs like that for protection, especially because they were vulnerable
Tribal
when going to the bathroom and doing things like that. So they had to protect each other and be all eyes all over the place.
Have each other's backs, absolutely.
Yeah.
But I think that speaks a lot about your athletic, being an athlete.
Team player.
Team player. It wasn't about just you. I mean, you could be the best on the team. LeBron's the best, but Michael was the best, but he wasn't going to do it without Scotty or this year without Anthony Davis. I mean, you have to have other people on your court, on your team, to be successul. And and your teachers, your parents, your friends, the advisors, tutors, whatever it was. It's a we. Everyone helps each other, and I think in life and teamwork and business, we all have to help each other. And I think that comes back to relationships, Eric, that you kind of started with.
Yeah.
the relationships that we build help us grow and help our businesses grow.
Yeah.
And we certainly bring that to even our PodMax day of events. We acknowledge all the time that while Eric and I might be on the front lines here, we have you, Lisa, we have Jake, we have Devin pulling their weight, doing your stuff day of to make it just look effortless.
Yeah.
Thank you for answering that, you guys. Quite literally the team example. And it's funny because remember I said second core value is independence. How much the team is. I'm one of four for my family, my siblings, and that's deep family. And then as a competitor, I tried to do individual versus team for CrossFit. And it kind of never worked out. So it's like I was battling out of alignment because that team piece really does run so well. And anyone that's like competed alone or done a business by themselves, it's always so much more fun with the team. And you can go back and celebrate, and somebody identifies with that win, and you get to like have that deep bond. The team, as humans, I think that community piece is so critical. So thanks for answering the why on the we.
The why on the we. Because I get it, identify with it totally, and it's strange when you hear it, but it feels right when you're saying it. But yeah, it's funny. I just wanted to because we go into sports, and while you guys were talking, it's interesting that we bring up Michael Jordan for a quick second. Is that obviously a legend and an icon, and changed the face of that sport in my time, in my era. But it's funny how he wore the number 23. But meanwhile, all these greats that people like to compare and debate who's better, LeBron wears number 23, and so did Kobe.
Yeah.
So how funny is that? Like he's obviously the GOAT, the greatest of all time, because those other greats wear his number. Did Jordan wear someone else's? I don't know who originally wore the 23. I think it was him.
I think it was him. He was 45 when he came out of retirement.
Right, that's true. That didn't count. No, that was like a little asterisk in his career.
Yeah. Well, and kind of to bring it back to like where you're talking about business, and I don't want to simplify an otherwise deeper point, but influencer marketing, like you don't know how much the impact is having until where you're literally rocking the brand, and you are that because you're consuming it on the daily. So
Ooh, I love that.
I don't know if who was before that, but there's only one Michael Jordan.
Exactly. Yeah, you're right. And it's funny you say that because the 23 became a brand, right? It became
Nike swooped in, you already know.
It was right. It was integrated into his everything. And what's funny about that, and I love that you say that, rocking the brand, because people, and I talked to Josh about this the other day, don't wear a t-shirt or a logo because they like the way it looks. They wear it because they love the way it makes them feel. They love what does it mean? What is the meaning behind that brand? And what is the culture behind that brand? And people rock your brand because they identify with what you've created, what it makes them, what it does for them and the people around them. Does it inspire them? Like the Nike swoosh or whatever it is. And in our case, people are rocking the PodMax brand, which is awesome. Like we walk around. I remember we were at an event. Remember this, Lise? We were hosting an event. We were helping to run something, and somebody turned around. He made eye contact with me. He's in the audience of hundreds of people, and he literally opens his shirt up, and he shows me the On Air Brands logo. And he winks at me. I'm like, holy crap.
Yeah, that's impact, man. That's huge.
Yeah, that's huge. And then you guys get it with sports too, right? You see someone wearing your team, you're like, you don't even know them. You're like, what's up? You high five, and everybody's like, we're family. It's just amazing, like how you can create something out of nothing when it comes to brand.
And it's so positive. I think, it's cool to see where business is switching, like you just said on the example of the quote unquote influencer that you were talking about, where you're like, is this too much? Is it too vulnerable? Is this working against his brand? Well, we're in this pivot in society where no, it's time to be real. It's time to be authentic. You start to see, Toyota, Coca-Cola really embrace the human side of what they're doing and humanize the brand, of where these old school traditional tactics of polished and this and that and everything's perfect to here's the owner, here's the CEO, here's the journey he or she went through to get it. And like they started to really be real because our young people, our young consumers are experiencing the world different, and they have all this exposure all the time on so many mediums. They want to see the truth. So you start to see big brands starting to be more transparent and tell the truth. So it's this very blurred line of reality and marketing and these big dogs, the big money, big pharma, big food, big whatever, kind of creating and controlling our realities, but now being held accountable by our young consumers because they'll call it out. And it's a real upside to social media and some of, all of these digital platforms that are happening in podcasting in particular. It's a pretty powerful time for people like us to step in and say like, okay, it's our business and it's about the branding, what have you, but really it is cliche, but it's about making the world a better place and having this opportunity to share our message. And then you wake up and see somebody in your t-shirt, like, what? That's amazing. That's cool.
Yeah, because we're sort of debating in here the power, the good and the bad, the pros and the cons of social media. Well, social media has allowed people like us to have our own brands, right? Whereas when we were growing up, because we're all sort of the same generation, it was Coke and Pepsi, it was Nike, it was the big brands that really existed, and there were no small brands, and if they were, it was very local. But it's funny if you think about the campaigns back in the day, like have a Coke and a smile, or we are the world, like they knew to pull on the heartstrings so that people would be, or aligning with Jordan, with Nike, and like making sure, right? And we sort of do that, right? We brought Hal Elrod in, aligned with his brand. So we're taking from the big dogs and learning and applying it to our little worlds. It's pretty cool.
Well, hey, you got to recognize the game. It's okay. You're a commodity. I was a commodity in college when I was playing lacrosse. Like if I got injured, which I did, and you can't play, you don't get paid. You don't get scholarship. Like thankfully they just keep me on. But you got to recognize what it is and don't be mad about it. Be part of it. And take your laps, take notes, and recognize what they're doing. And then recognize, again, opportunities at hand. Things are shifting. We're still on the ground level. We're seeing what's happening, on this grassroots level where, the Nikes, the Cokes, what have you, they're a million miles ahead. So, we have an edge on the game, in my opinion, as a professional and as, we'll say a young budding podcaster, that we're in the mix and we're on the front lines. So I don't know. I think it's okay to, you're getting monetized. Okay. And digital world, you watch the Social Dilemma, how they're tapping into our young humans and old humans alike of our thoughts and reality. Like, okay, noted. I see you. And we're going to talk about it. We're going to come with it and use you in exchange. Do you guys know Bill Withers' Use Me Up? One of my favorite songs ever. Oh, really? Seriously?
Can we sing it? I'm sure if I heard, I don't know if we're allowed to sing it.
Oh, it's like bluesy. It's like, go ahead and use me up because I'm going to use you too. It's a positive song, but it's like, use me like to my theme to the world for myself is like, go ahead, use me up. Whatever I got, whatever I talents or any contribution I can, come with it, come with me. And any resource I can take from that to fuel me to give back, like we're here. It's this reciprocal situation. I can't believe you guys don't know Bill Withers. Okay, well.
Well, I know who he is.
Action item. Okay.
Yeah.
But it's a good jam. Check it out.
I am going to put a copy of the link because somebody's asking, Edwidge is asking, what about my shirt? Here's a link to our store.
Yes.
Feel free to grab whatever you want. On Air Brands swag is always available here. And this is how I think I see a lot of people. I get emails constantly. They're like, congratulations, someone just picked up this, that. I'm like, whoa, someone bought someone who was probably somebody inside bought asked me about my podcast shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
then we got I got coffee mugs at home. We just got our newest hat. That OAB hat is sharp. I wore it 2 weeks ago on the air. It's so funny because this morning driving into the studio, I literally had the thought that I want to get a second OAB hat because I wore the hat once. And
with the stickers.
Yeah. And I love the way it looks. Like I love the way it looks. To the point that I put it like in the corner now as like not to touch it because I don't want it to get ruined. So I'm like, I think the solution here is I buy a second hat that I wear and I could bring out and then just keep one. I know it's very dorky.
I'm doing it though.
But I want a second hat.
It's such a dorky thing. Yeah. It's like what we nerds used to do and some of my friends still do. Buy 3 action figures, one to keep in the box, right? One to play with, and then one, but I forgot what the third one was. But there's it's the same thing.
So I guess what I should do is just wear it.
Oh, one to sell. That was the third one.
Oh yeah,
rock it, man. You gotta.
I could wear it constantly, and then if it gets ruined, just then buy a new one.
There you go.
Then it's vintage, and you charge more for it. You put it back on yourself.
Right.
Yeah. No,
because
I think. people overlook the power in just your apparel. I mean, again, social media, so
Yeah.
everyone's doing the influencer selfie thing, perfect, myself included. But the what you walk around in and your own personal billboard, I really don't even like saying the brand because it makes it so businessy. But truthfully, that messaging, that opportunity to represent who you are is a big deal, and people are paying attention. They see it.
Oh yeah.
It's true. Do we have a Podmax hat or just OAB right now?
Just OAB.
Just OAB right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
It just looks so good.
Oh my
the
God,
logo
it's
there.
sharp. It's sleek
Yeah,
black
okay.
with the white
Wear it.
trucker.
Wear it.
Podmax got a lot of love on the swag level, right? With those jackets, those
Yeah.
those Tony
I
Stark.
just love that you guys are loving your own stuff, and I'm saying that seriously. Like, no, I'm here for it. I'm that human that wears all my own
There you
crap.
go, yeah.
So
Yeah,
I'm
go
glad I'm in
full
my
screen.
tribe.
Yeah. We do swoon over our own swag. I don't know. It's just so good.
Because if
Thank
we
you.
don't,
Yeah.
It's got to be real. Personal
Yeah.
endorsement starts with number one, so I'm here for it.
speaking of that, is your shirt, is that your own phrase or did you take that from
Graceful
something?
disruption. Yes, you know we
I
just
love it.
trademarked this. We trademarked
Right.
tequila.
Ooh.
Trademark graceful disruption. I don't know that anyone fully understands it, so that's my mission over the next 1+ many years to fully execute the meaning. However, walking around the dog park, I've talked about this. People get turmeric and tequila, and I kind of don't know why. And that sounds completely counterintuitive, being a branding professional and then making it my brand. However, sometimes you just got to lean in again, say yes to the moment, know there's opportunity, and we'll embrace the cost. But people just kind of get it. But graceful disruption, this was actually really happening before 2020 was happening. We saw this uprise with social issues. I'm fortunate to have a pretty diverse group of friends. So I saw some of their experiences and I was like, okay, we got to disrupt a lot what's going on. And particularly being a female in a male dominated world, athletically, professionally, having 3 brothers, I was big on to like, we've got to like disrupt social norms. And then 2020 happened and I'm like, holy shit, we are right on time. Like I'm here for protesting and what have you, but I genuinely believe in the power of conversation and a graceful approach to things. And grace is right up there with vulnerability for me. We're not always the most graceful human. So it's also a working on situation.
So you said you trademarked that from a
Yes.
business standpoint. How was that process?
Oh, it's like podcasting. We're constantly learning. Again, 40, no, all you're learning is that you don't really know that much, and
That's right.
you gotta just stay humble to the game. But get a good lawyer in your life always. Rule number 1: young humans, and I mean everyone, get a good lawyer friend. I have actually one of my childhood BFFs. Her husband is a lawyer and specializes in trademarking. My tidbit of advice there is you can go online and do like a cheaper version and just pay, but I wouldn't. I would consult with a lawyer. It can cost you anywhere from, I think it's like $300 for a national trademark. State trademarks are cheap, but it's only good in the state, so it's not going to do you good long term if you're playing the long game.
Right.
But it can get expensive. But get somebody good and see if they can like hook you up if you're a budding brand. We're starting off new and do it right, because you can. There's online things you can do, but it's.
Yeah, it gets messy. It can get really messy. Yeah. We've done the same, and it's seemingly easy on the surface, like creating an LLC. Like some people are like, how do I do that? Can I do it myself? Sure, you can.
$99.
Yeah. But if you try to do registered and trademarks, it will come back. It will come back because even though you can submit and put it into the system. What you need the lawyer for is any challenges towards the trademark. So then they will step to the plate and also recognize and find anybody that may be using your marks. And then they'll also defend the marks for you. And at the same time, just keep a watchful eye on everything that's happening, because I'm with you. We should talk more offline since we're sort of landing this bird in a little bit, but it's funny, Kristen, we've been together for I don't know how many months since your first Podmax to now.
Several.
Yeah. And I love that. We should probably honestly start dedicating this show to our peeps, right? Because then we get an opportunity to really take a deep dive in each other's.
Yeah, I mean, Kristen, you're a smart girl. You got a lot of intelligence up there, and we don't really.
Josh, I don't know how to take that.
No, but I say, no, we've
It's not
had
just
our,
your looks.
we've had,
Come on.
it's not just the Botox working well.
Yes,
girl.
Steve.
No, the B&B.
I don't know what she said. She used some acronym to do Botox and then
And
there's bleach. What do you
Botox
bleach and all this stuff?
I just use Sun In now because there's a chemical conversation there as well.
Sun-In.
I
remember that.
It's a more natural. It's like white tea and lemon, and it's great stuff. But I'm actually here for like toxins in our environment. That's a whole other podcast.
Yes,
But
it
But
is.
I just like to poke the bear on so many things. 'Cause, I mean,
Yeah,
it's not
exactly.
not true.
Right.
But again, the juxtaposition of being all things.
Well, what I meant by saying, "Yo, you're intelligent, girl," what I meant was a follow up.
You got a brain in them looks.
Who
Yours.
knew?
Lawn
All this
emoji right
time.
here. Yep.
What I meant was a follow up to what Eric said, that having this opportunity really brings that out in an environment where it's just not passing through the PodMax day of event, for example, where it's like, "Hey, Kristen, good to see you again. Yeah, we love you. You love us. How's it going?" And then we blip, and then it's I mean, we've had many conversations. I've been on you've been on my show, and I think I'm scheduled to be on your show. So we've had that intimate, more direct dialogue. So I know how intelligent you are. I was just bringing it out and just saying that.
Let's let him flounder a little bit more.
I know, I still am.
How long do we let him go?
There's an admiration here is also what I'm getting at. That wow.
No, it's fun. That actually happens a lot. So I don't know if it is just like the blonde hair or what. And again, we put certain things out on social media. So like, I can't be surprised that some things come in. But it's also funny because life is, when life needs to be serious, and a lot of times it doesn't need to be. So you can, have a laugh and pull back and recognize it. But no, I actually get that a good amount where I'm like, yes, I can read. It's not a big deal.
I know.
But it's all good.
I love the contradictory sort of yin and yang nature of your brands. Because it brings up a conversation. It's great. It's great to debate, and it's great to talk about, and it makes sense. Like you said, people see it automatically and understand. Oh, there's health, the turmeric, and then there's there's the weekend bender with the tequila.
Yeah.
What's your go-to brand of tequila?
Man, I got to be careful here because no one's sponsoring me yet. No,
This might be the call out to them.
I love her capitalistic nature.
You got to recognize the game.
Yeah,
and actually, I will say with the trademark, that's a good like universe practice of like you're anticipating it will get big. So while you're like forking up the money and time and energy, I do think it's a good mindful practice to put it out there because you're literally putting money behind the belief. So that's good, and it's a good business move. But I'm actually pretty simple as far as some of those things. Like I don't need big fancy stuff. Casamigos, those guys are good, but they're multi-$100 million situation where I like the upper and comers. So even like Luna Azul, which is like not that expensive a tequila, it's 100% agave. I'm a Blanco drinker, which is also the cheapest of the three. So, and it actually burns clear. There's many angles, but in a nutshell, usually if it's 100% agave and Blanco, I'm pretty good. Like I am pretty open-minded, and I like trying out these new brands. There's a couple brands that are like women owned, and they've sourced women run agave factories in Mexico. So I love the story behind the brand alongside the taste. Cause I think those intentional purchases as consumers are actually really impacting. So I just enjoy the flavor a little bit more.
I'm getting the impression that when we are really back in person and it's right on our calendar to do a live in-person PodMax event, we should partner that with you and a whole tequila tasting afternoon.
Ooh, hello.
I mean, right? That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I think brands honestly would be open to it. And we do a lot of that with K Alliance, my consulting company, where we'll reach out and you'll be surprised how some of these big dogs are open-minded to situations like that. And they actually need it because they're on the trend-setting tip, but they don't know what to do. And these are like phenomenal, authentic opportunities. And
we'll
I
come
like
out to Colorado for that.
Come out anytime, please. I have this little mini studio. It's a very humble space, but with COVID, it's been shut down. So I'm itching to have some humans in the mix here and to converse in person.
Well, we're putting it out into the universe. We'll be taking a trip when the time is right to Colorado. Certainly.
Where in Colorado are you?
Denver. I'm like
Denver.
Right outside of about 10 minutes, 10, 12 minutes outside of Denver, but right in North Denver.
I have family in Denver and in Boulder, so it works out. Yeah. I'll make it a family trip too. So so hopefully we'll see you again on December 4th because that is our next PodMax event. What's going on that day, Josh? Carrie?
What's going on that day? It's our 9th. I said 9th PodMax event. Chris Doe will be our keynote, who is a sales and marketing Jedi, as he calls himself. He's really going to be also taking us through a lot of role playing for helping all of us understand how to increase our value, our worth, and how to communicate that to clients. Any one of us who have ever dealt with clients, we know the fear of, oh, am I pricing too high? Are they going to balk? Should I give them a discount? All that nonsense. And he's going to, for 90 minutes, help us all through that. Oh, plus you get yourself booked like that on 3 shows as a podcast guest. So it's going to be our 9th time doing it. We're doing them every 4 to 6 weeks for a reason. We've identified that it seems to work. It works for us. It works for the show hosts like Kristen, who's returning again and again. And it returns for the attendees who want to better understand and help identify your message, practice and rehearse that message, and communicate and dominate that message in advance. So when December 4th comes, we have already helped you do all that through our pre-training calendar for you. And then on December 4th, you show up, you have a blast, and then you record on the shows. Is there anything out of context, Kristen, that I am not saying that is accurate? You've been part of the crew enough times. Is this a great representation of the day?
Yes, my computer just cut out a little bit, but I think I know what you said.
You know what I said.
Yeah, I think this is a phenomenal opportunity. I really appreciate you guys allowing me to come on the platform, share a little bit more of my background, because you guys attract, as I always say, all of these incredible varsity humans. Everyone has this really in-depth, unique perspective and journey that's worthy of sharing. So that's why I've shown up time and time again. It's worth my time and energy, and it's a true blessing for me to be in the mix, because this is a really quality group of humans, and it's people you want to be like. So that's what I'd say about PodMax. If you like these dudes and you like what they do, their energy and their heart, it's a place you want to be.
Podmax.co is your ticket right now.
Tickets are going now. People are actually already filling the seats, which is awesome. Always awesome to see. So yeah, if you love and you want to know more about Kristen, Turmeric Tequila, she'll be there. You'll get an opportunity potentially to be on her show if you sign up. So, you know, let's throw your hat in the ring and see what happens. Maybe she'll want to talk to you. Oh, I'm sure she will. So look out for it coming to you. It's on all podcast platforms, Turmeric and Tequila, as well as the On Air Brands podcast, which you're listening to live. So yeah, until then, we'll see you next week, same time, same bat channel. Kristen, hang out. We're going to talk a little bit after the show. So,
and happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Enjoy the rest of the day.
Yeah,
Thank
celebration. Ciao.
You are now tuned in to the On Air